My name is Hannah Barco. I serve as the Associate Curator at Tephra ICA, and I am the curator of Choosing to Portage, which brings together the work of five contemporary American artists: Ashley M. Freeby, Noelle Garcia, Jeff Huckleberry, Jackie Milad, and Michael Rakowitz. My goal with this exhibition is to examine the concept of cultural inheritance, and through the lenses of these artworks and the artists who made them, to come to a richer and more complex understanding of how culture is transmitted, embodied, and wielded. These artists offer nuanced and empowering ways of engaging with their own cultural inheritance to address pressing issues of our time.
My name is Ashley Freeby. I'm an artist and designer, as well as the communications director for Oxbow School of Art and Artist Residency. I currently work and reside in Allentown, Pennsylvania. The segment series is dedicated to Black Americans who have unjustly been taken by the hands of police officers. Each segment is dedicated to an individual, and the process of those segments grow and break down and decay over time. The Plots and Hems series is autobiographical work and explores family craft traditions and race dynamics. My grandmother is quite literally in the exhibition, with a quilt she created and a quilt I have started to remake as an exact replica. You can also find family garden plots in the schematic drawings and in the garden plot quilt. For those works, it allows me to discuss common lifestyle rituals from both sides of my family. Both families were growers in order to provide bountiful offerings for the family. Language, though not a tactical material, is a key material that is used within my practice. You can experience titles that include extended stories, book components that are accompanied by the work, or online materials that allow you to explore the series deeper. The garden plots are based off of the 1x1 square, which was found in my grandmother's quilt. That is directly related to the segment that also is broken down by a 1x1 square. The segment is a 4x8 size brick. So I hope that folks view the work and digest it in a way that makes them think about injustices against Black Americans and ongoing race dynamics.
My name is Noelle Garcia. I'm an enrolled member of the Klamath tribes. I'm also Modoc and Paiute. I'm an assistant professor of art at National Louis University in Chicago. I have two bodies of work in this exhibition. One is a series of small soft sculptures made of bead weaving. I think with the beadwork, I tend to look at it more as an act of being myself or an act of refining myself as an Indigenous woman. There's little tortilla chips in there, which I associate with kids, and there's a lot of medicine bottles. I have a lot of health problems. So the process of making those objects is something that's about taking care of myself and my identity. The other body of work has more to do with my father. There is a small ink drawing that I drew of my father while he was incarcerated. There's an installation called Man Lying in Grass. That includes a painting, some drawings, and some other materials that I associate with contemporary Native American powwows. So I want you to be concerned about the figure laying in the grass. It's a familiar image that I've seen of my own family finding a man unconscious and being a bit disappointed in why they're unconscious. I hope that story connects with other people that have had a similar family dynamic. There is an inherent sadness, but it doesn't linger too long because there are also spots of playfulness. You can see my installation has this vibrant green. Everything's so bright, and it reminds me of a playful young boy that's being mischievous. It's a delight walking through and seeing how the other artworks talk to each other.
My name is Jeff Huckleberry. I'm an artist. I live in Boston. I work as a bike mechanic, and I co-direct a long-standing Boston arts group called Mobius. One of the materials that I use often in performance is wood. It is connected in a number of ways to my family history through a bunch of carpenters, especially on my dad's side. I always used to think that if my grandfather was watching one of my performances, he would at least have someplace to land and say, oh, I understand that thing. I don't understand anything else, but I understand that. So for me, it was an entry point to allow him into that work and myself to be able to connect with my family history, both the good and the bad. That's also what happens with the beer that always appears in the work as well. And they're connected in that way, as everything else is connected to each other. I devise a lot of systems in which wood, in my relationship to the wood in the performance, is painful, restrictive, or aggressive. And I'm doing it to myself. That's the connection to my own body through that material to those people. I'd like it to remain unclear because one of the most important things is that it surprises me. It's not surprising me. It's not going to surprise you. And I think that is a fundamental element to the way this work works.
My name is Jackie Milad. I'm an artist and I live in Baltimore City. The work that I have in the show is made from collage material on canvas. This approach was inspired by a trip that I took to Egypt in 2020. On that trip, I was able to see how history is layered on the walls of the city of Cairo. Going to ancient sites and seeing architecture layered from the pharaohs up until the mosques that are still in use today. All of the languages of the tourists, culture, and history all in one place was super inspiring. My mother's from Honduras, my father's from Egypt. My background really influences this idea of layering, just like in life. Lyrics from music that I'm listening to, Spanish, Arabic, English. But then there's also the symbols and patterns that I've created on my own. Pattern making and symbols that are really personal to me are interlaid with objects of antiquity, ancient Egyptian iconography, and objects that exist currently in Western museums. For me to take these objects and to draw them out, that process of placing those drawings that I've made into my work, I'm thinking of this as symbolically a repatriation of these objects, a reclaiming of that history, creating this timeline that is really a personal timeline, using those drawings to interweave with my story. Collage is a critical element and practice for me.
Michael Rakowitz is a Chicago-based Iraqi-American artist working at the intersection of problem-solving and troublemaking. The Invisible Enemy Should Not Exist is an ongoing series of sculptures that represent an attempt to reconstruct the archaeological artifacts looted from the National Museum of Iraq, Baghdad, in the aftermath of the US invasion of April 2003. The reconstructions are made from the packaging of Middle Eastern foodstuffs and local Arabic newspapers, moments of cultural visibility found in cities across the United States. Enemies in Kitchens brings together objects and ephemera from 4 of Rakowitz's food-based projects: Enemy Kitchen, Dar al-Sul, Spoils, and Return. An imported box of Babylon dates of Iraq, a cutting board and knife made specifically for the Enemy Kitchen project, and the Chicago flag in the colors of the Iraqi flag. From Spoils, there's a paper replica of Saddam Hussein's hospitality plate for use on the Enemy Kitchen food truck, as well as the original postal packaging from when the artist purchased the actual hospitality plate on eBay. There's also the New York Times front page from Thursday, December 15th, 2011, with the title caption on the photo, "Obama thanks troops as he observes end of Iraq war." And on the bottom, a short thumbnail image with the title, "Spoils of War Served as Art," with a larger article in the art section about Michael's project. These objects sit alongside many others that speak to the ongoing and important work that Michael does at the intersection of food, conversation, identity, and global politics. Choosing to portage refers to the moment when a person traveling by boat decides that the best path forward is to carry their boat and cargo on their back across land. Often a high-stakes decision and always high endurance, portaging is carried out to bypass an obstacle or to transfer from one body of water to the next. This exhibition uses the metaphor of the portage to emphasize cultural inheritance as an active process, and to highlight the agency these artists wield as they operate within specific cultural legacies.